be it when you sign my body. I'm tonight. Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go. So be it when you sign my body. I'm tonight. Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go.
Run, run.
Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go. So be it when you sign my body. I'm tonight. Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go. So be it when you sign my body. I'm tonight. Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go. So be it when you sign my body. I'm tonight. Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go. So be it when you sign my body. I'm tonight. Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go.
Run, run.
Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go. So be and keep the sign of my body. I'm tonight. Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go. So be and keep the sign of my body. I'm tonight. Oh baby, when you like that. Oh baby, when you like that, you make it go. So be and keep the sign of my body.
Run, run. Run, run.
Blogs, and even consult with mentors. And by 2030, every student in Germany will have their own mentor, tailored specifically to them, their curriculum, and the child's pace of interest. If someone is a visual learner, they can demonstrate interactive diagrams. If the child is creative, they can propose a project through a game or simulation. Teachers are not replaced, but rather freed from routine. They are now mentors and psychologists who help children unlock their potential, not just grade their notebooks. German schools and grammar schools will be completely revamped, with children studying not only physics and chemistry but also creative thinking and problem solving, the ethics of artificial intelligence, eco-economics and sustainable development, media literacy and digital ethics, emotional intelligence and team leadership, inter-society communication, and global thinking. Starting at age 10, students are introduced to the fundamentals of programming, project management, and social responsibility. School teaches not only how to work, but also why. Parents will no longer be mere observers. They will become active participants in learning. German schools will introduce family project evenings, where children and adults will work together to solve real-world social problems, for example, how to reduce waste in a neighborhood or how to help seniors master digital services. This fosters a sense of community, something sorely lacking in the early 2020s. The younger generation in Germany in 2030 will be children who are not afraid of change. They know they can learn at any age, explore a wide range of fields, make mistakes, and start over. For them, there is no distinction between technical and humanities professions. A future engineer will study psychology, and a future doctor will study programming. Thus is born a generation of intellectual humanists for whom technology is a tool for serving people. By 2030, Germany will create a school that will train not just workers, but conscious citizens of the future. Here, they will teach not only knowledge but also life, a love of nature, respect for others, the value of time, and, of course, building a happy future. Germany once needed hands. Today, it needs minds and hearts. By 2030, the country will finally become one of the most attractive hubs for global migration, a meeting place for engineers from India, doctors from Ukraine, designers from Brazil, and psychologists from Canada. This new Germany is not just multinational, it is global in spirit. Demographic decline, an aging population, and a shortage of skilled workers will make migration not just desirable, but vital. By 2030, more than 40% of Germany's working-age population will be migrants and their descendants. The government will actively simplify visa applications and the recognition of foreign diplomas. Universities will offer multilingual courses, and German employers will learn to see cultural differences not as barriers, but as a source of innovation. Immigration will no longer be a challenge, but an opportunity to revive the country's workforce and cultural wealth. Whereas previously people came to Germany to work in factories, now they are attracting computer scientists, data analysts, psychologists, content creators, and sustainability specialists. This generation of migrants isn't just looking for work, it's creating it. Freelancers from Eastern Europe are consulting for German companies online. Doctors from Asia are using telemedicine, and creative entrepreneurs are launching startups. Combining German precision and international inspiration, migrants are becoming bridges between cultures, helping Germany remain competitive in the global economy. German integration is no longer limited to language courses. It is now a holistic system where education, work, and culture are integrated into one. Intercultural modules are actively developing in schools and colleges, where students explore the traditions of their classmates, countries, learn to work in mixed teams, and appreciate the value of diversity. Offices in 2030 are like a little UN. Here, a Ukrainian designer, a German analyst, and an Indian developer can collaborate on the same project. Diversity has proven to be the best incentive for innovation. Research has shown that companies with multinational teams in Germany demonstrate 35% higher creativity and 25% higher employee retention. Employers now value not only qualifications but also intercultural flexibility and the ability to collaborate with people from different countries. And if you dream of a career in Germany, 2030 is the best time to start. The country is looking not for the perfect, but for the unique. For those who are ready to learn, develop, and contribute something unique. Germans value precision and discipline, but even more so, passion and ideas. Germany is a place where migrants can become innovators, entrepreneurs, scientists, or psychologists of the next generation, where the past does not determine the future and diversity becomes strength. Germany in 2030 is not only a land of opportunity, it is a country of mutual exchange, where everyone is willing to share knowledge and finds their place. Success in Germany was once measured by a stable career, a company car, and a bank account. By 2030, everything will change. Success is the ability to wake up without worry, work with pleasure, and have time for life. This new work philosophy will be the result of years of rethinking after the pandemic, automation, crises, and burnout. Germans will understand that productivity is impossible without inner balance. In Germany in 2030, the phrase work-life balance is no longer fashionable, it is simply natural. Flexible schedules, remote work, digital vacations, mental health support, all of this will become the standard. Many companies will abandon the traditional concept of a workplace. Now, this will be an ecosystem where employees can work from home, a co-working space, a park, or even another country, if that helps them stay inspired. The primary criterion for effectiveness is not the number of hours, but the level of satisfaction. That's why each employee will have their own emotional well-being center and assistant who will monitor stress and offer recovery methods. While psychological well-being was barely discussed in 2020, by 2030, it will become part of business ethics in Germany. Corporations will be required to provide mental health support programs, cover consultations with psychologists and coaches, and implement mindfulness practices directly in the workplace. Offices will have quiet recovery rooms where people can meditate, read, or simply find peace. A kindness day will be held once a month, without meetings, deadlines, or reports, when employees dedicate time to volunteering or personal development. In this way, Germany will create a culture where self-care is not a weakness, but a sign of professional maturity. In 2030, more and more people will choose a conscious career. This isn't a striving for the top for prestige, but a movement toward inner comfort and self-realization. Germans will increasingly say, "I don't just want to make a career, I want to be happy." Many will leave big cities for small ones, to find nature and quiet, to open small businesses, write books, create educational projects, or engage in sustainable tourism. Success is no longer a matter of comparison, but of harmony between what you do and who you are. Even with powerful digitalization, Germany will be able to avoid the trap of living in a screen. Technology will not replace human contact, but rather a tool for freeing up time for it. It will take over routine, leaving people free to engage in creativity, learning, communication, and meaning. Robots will serve, and people will create. Thus, a new, humane economy is emerging, where happiness ceases to be an abstract concept and becomes a measurable indicator of performance. In Germany by 2030, everyone will understand that individual happiness contributes to the country's overall well-being. When employees are satisfied, companies grow faster, innovation is more frequent, and social conflicts are reduced. The government will support programs like Happy Work, which will focus on burnout prevention, emotional literacy, and the development of internal resilience. And Germany will prove that a strong economy is impossible without happy people. The future of work is not a race, but a path to a conscious and harmonious life. Happiness will no longer be a privilege. It will become part of professional culture. And if success was once measured by career, it will now be measured by a sense of purpose and inner light. In the coming years, Germany will become one of Europe's leaders in digitalization. The federal government is already investing billions of euros in the development of artificial intelligence, work technology, and sustainable technologies. By 2030, experts predict more than 60% of companies will transition to fully automated production processes. This means that heavy physical labor will gradually be replaced by intellectual work, systems management, data analysis, and innovation design. Automation is no longer perceived as a threat. It is becoming an ally in German companies, helping to automate logistics, predict demand, develop new products, and even assess employee mental health, preventing burnout. However, at the same time, professions that today seem stable will disappear. Cashiers, drivers, accountants, and secretaries will gradually be displaced by artificial intelligence. In their place will emerge digital customer service specialists, artificial intelligence managers, technology ethics consultants, and virtual world designers. The German government has already launched large-scale programs to improve the skills of citizens. The future of work is about flexibility and balance. More and more companies in Germany are shifting to hybrid models, where the office becomes a place for communication and creativity, while digital nomads, remote teams, and international startups are truly creating a new reality in Germany, where location no longer determines careers. Germany in 2030 is a country where human intelligence and technology go hand in hand, where the key is not to fear change but to learn to adapt. After all, those who are willing to change will not only be part of the future, but also its creators. The future of work is not a cause for fear, but an opportunity for growth. As a psychologist, I see that those who embrace change don't lose ground, they gain wings. Germany in 2030 will open its doors to those who are not afraid to learn, develop, and reinvent themselves. It doesn't matter how old you are or where you are now. Only one thing matters: be flexible, open, and ready for change. Let your fear of the unknown fuel new achievements. Let curiosity overcome doubt. And may you be the one who not only observes the future, but creates it. Thank you all so much for watching and for your company. I wish you all a wonderful time. Until next time, bye-bye. Children to do something or say thank you out of habit. Now I simply say what I feel. For example, I'm very pleased that you helped me. And over time, I noticed these words returning to me. Sincere, warm, and genuine. True gratitude isn't words, but a state of mind. It can't be instilled by orders, but can be expressed by example, attention, and love. And Germans understand this. Also, in Germany, it's not customary to compare children. Parents don't brag about others' successes to motivate their children. The focus is entirely on individuality. We grew up in a culture of constant comparisons at school, at home, even among friends. As children, we were judged by others. A neighbor, the neighbor's son, for example, plays the piano. Your friend is a better student, look how he behaves, and so on and so forth. And from childhood, we learn to measure our own worth by the successes of others. Just think about it. How absurd is that? And personally, I believe this approach has destroyed our self-esteem. It's how a child stops hearing themselves and stops enjoying the process. They live in a race where there's always someone better. That's why here in Germany, comparisons aren't encouraged, but intrinsic motivation is supported. Teachers praise effort, not results. You worked so hard on this project, and I see how hard you tried. This simple phrase gives a child a sense of value, regardless of the grade. Classes aren't about rankings and honor rolls. Every child develops at their own pace, and this is respected. If someone is lagging behind, they are helped without shame. If someone is ahead, they are given more freedom to be creative. And this is how a healthy confidence is born. Not from a desire to be first, but from a sense that you have the right to be yourself. Germans teach children to believe in themselves without relying on others' standards. And perhaps this is precisely why they grow up calm, confident, and kind to themselves. And perhaps this is one of the key differences between German and post-Soviet education. Here, a child doesn't have to be the best to be loved. In Soviet parenting, boundaries were often completely absent. Children weren't hugged when they wanted to be, and they weren't asked, "Why are you sad?" Without giving them time to answer, they'd enter the room without knocking, checking phones, diaries, and personal belongings. After all, I'm your mother, I can do this. We grew up believing that love gives the right to everything. In Germany, things are different. Here, respect for a child's personal space begins from a very early age. A child is an individual, and adults recognize that. If they don't want to be hugged, no one forces them. If they want to be alone, they're given time. If they say no, they're heard, and no one takes offense at the word no. It took me a while to even realize how important this is. But then I realized that it's from these little things that a sense of security and respect grows. When a child sees that adults respect their boundaries, they learn to respect others' boundaries as well. They understand that closeness isn't control, but trust, that love isn't merging, but support. And in German families, even teenagers feel completely at ease with their parents because they feel their space is completely safe. No one yells, "You owe me everything. Don't break down the door. Don't get into personal matters." Negotiations are common here. If parents are worried, they say so directly. "I'm worried about you. We can discuss what's going on." This way, the child learns honest communication, not secrecy. And they don't need to lie to protect themselves. After all, their opinion is respected. And I think this is one of the most mature aspects of German parenting. Boundaries don't distance. On the contrary, they connect, because only where there is respect can true intimacy exist. And in German parenting, personal boundaries are not a wall, but a bridge. They teach children to love themselves and others without fear of losing love. And perhaps this is one of the wisest skills we can teach our children. I believe this is truly important. In post-Soviet culture, money often remained taboo. Children didn't see how much their parents earned or how their budgets were formed, and conversations about money were limited to phrases like, "study to earn." And our beloved one doesn't spend money because there's so little money anyway, regardless of how much there used to be. And an alarming association formed in the child's mind. Money is either fear or power. In Germany, things are different. Here, children of an unusual age are engaged in discussions about money and work without frightening or forcing them in any way. The child is explained where money comes from, why it's important to save, how adults work to provide for the family, and most importantly, they are taught the value of work. I observed small families where 5-year-olds received a small allowance for helping around the house, tidying up toys, dusting, planting flowers. This isn't about buying, but about obedience. It's about learning responsibility. And children see the connection, the work that brings results, and learn to enjoy the effort, not just the end goal. In post-Soviet culture, parents often tried to do everything themselves to make their child comfortable. In Germany, on the contrary, children are gradually included in household processes and are taught the value of every step. This is how respect for things and money is developed. They understand that everything has a price and everything requires effort. Schools and kindergartens also support this learning. Children learn to plan small budgets, save up for a toy, for example, and exchange coins for useful things. And all this is done in a non-intrusive manner. No one forces them. The child discovers the value of work, savings, and responsibility on their own. This is how another very important aspect of German education is formed. The child isn't afraid of money, but learns to value it. They understand work not as a punishment, but as a path to their goals. And this is precisely what helps raise adults who know how to manage resources wisely, respect the work of others, and make their own decisions. And now, friends, a little about failures in our childhoods. Failures were often perceived as shame or a failure. If a child did something poorly, it could be discussed out loud, compared with others, punished, or even shamed. And many of us grew up with the feeling that mistakes are dangerous. In Germany, the attitude toward failure is completely different. Mistakes are seen as a natural and important stage of learning. Children learn to tolerate temporary failure and understand that it's not the end of the world, but simply an experience. In kindergartens and schools, teachers often say, "You tried, and that's the most important thing. Look at what you can do differently next time." No yelling, no shaming, just calm discussion, analysis, and support. I remember the case of a little boy who fell off his bike. Instead of scolding him, his parents asked, "What happened? Why did he fall?" And what can we do to make it safer next time? The boy thought about it, tried again, and within minutes was riding with complete confidence. His mistake wasn't game over, it was simply a lesson. In post-Soviet families, children were often afraid to try something new. Fear of failure was stronger than curiosity. In Germany, a child learns from failure. It's normal. The important thing is to just keep going. This philosophy carries over to school grades. A failed test or project is no reason to panic. And teachers explain that it's not just the result that's important, but also the learning process. Teachers explain this, and children learn to analyze, seek solutions, and understand that anyone can make mistakes. This approach is another key difference between German and post-Soviet education. Failures don't break you, they support and inspire you. And in post-Soviet culture, children often grew up in a chaotic rhythm. Lessons, clubs, homework, television, meetings with friends. And all of this was intermingled without any clear structure. We're used to the adult making the plans, and the child simply following instructions. In Germany, the approach is completely different. Here, children are taught the value of time from an early age. They learn to plan their day, prioritize, and understand how much time they need for different tasks. In kindergartens, simple visual schedules are often used: breakfast, then play, then a walk. Children see the sequence and learn to navigate time themselves. In schools, they teach planning academic projects and allocating time for preparation and rest. I've noticed the impact this has on children. They truly become organized, able to manage their energy, and not panic when they're overwhelmed. In post-Soviet culture, everything often had to be done at the last minute, and stress was considered normal. But in Germany, children learn that planning is a tool, not a punishment. It's especially important that parents lead by example. They themselves adhere to the schedule, explaining the importance of resting, pursuing hobbies, and meeting with friends. This way, the child understands that time is a resource, not something to be wasted. And as a result, children become truly more independent and calm. They know that they can achieve their goals if they manage their energy wisely, and that rest is just as important as work. And it's precisely this balance that distinguishes German upbringing from the post-Soviet era, from our own childhood, so to speak. There's no race here, but harmony, where time and, of course, quality of life are valued. Furthermore, in Germany, healthcare begins from a very early age. It's not a passing fad or a punishment for poor nutrition. It's a natural part of life. In kindergartens and schools, children are taught simple but important habits, such as proper nutrition, fruit and vegetables for breakfast and snacks, limiting sweets and processed foods, and, of course, activity, daily walks, outdoor play, as well as sports and a sleep schedule. They respect the child's need for rest and try not to overload them. In post-Soviet culture, it was often the other way around. We grew up in conditions of scarcity or chaos, with snacks on the go, sweets instead of breakfast, and television instead of a walk. Health was considered secondary, and habits were formed unconsciously. German families and schools take a gentle but consistent approach. Children are taught the importance of taking care of their bodies, rather than simply forbidden from doing certain things. For example, instead of saying, "Don't eat sweets," they explain that too much sugar can ruin your teeth and make you tired. "Give me your best apple." The child understands the reason and makes their own choice. Exercise isn't a punishment, but a joyful experience in parks, streets, and gardens. I often see families walking together, riding bikes, and playing with their children. Children grow up active not because they have to, but because it's fun and beneficial. So that's another difference. Share your thoughts in the comments. German children also learn to respect nature from an early age. This isn't just a lesson at school, but part of everyday life. Walks in the forest, hikes, observing animals and plants. All of this helps children feel a connection with the world around them. In post-Soviet culture, children often grew up in cities, and nature was considered something distant. Parks or forests were considered places for short-term entertainment, and caring for nature wasn't a habit. In German families and kindergartens, children are taught simple but important things, such as sorting waste, conserving resources, and caring for plants and animals. Children learn to understand that their actions impact the world around them. For example, if they litter, the teacher explains the consequences rather than scolds them. This is how empathy for nature and the habit of caring for it are formed. And I notice how this affects children. This is truly very important. And it is this value that creates conscious individuals. In my opinion, in German schools and families, socialization is not something that happens automatically. It is a purposeful process. Children are taught to communicate with advisors and adults, to express their thoughts and emotions, to cooperate and negotiate. In our childhoods, it was often assumed that children would figure out communication on their own. And if a child is in conflict, the problem will subside over time. In Germany, this is taught gradually. From an early age, children learn to share toys and various materials. Teachers help resolve disputes verbally, not with shouting or violence. Children learn to listen to each other, ask questions, and take others' opinions into account. Kindergartens often use games and activities where children learn to work in teams, discuss, and make decisions together. Even young children learn. If you want others to hear you, you need to hear them too. Moreover, in German families and kindergartens, play is not just entertainment but an important developmental tool. Through play, children learn to think, make decisions, solve problems, and express themselves. In Soviet culture, the emphasis was often solely on academics and discipline. Play was considered secondary, and free time was supposed to be spent productively. In Germany, free and guided play is part of education. In kindergartens, children are provided with a variety of materials, paints, construction sets, and natural objects, and are given the freedom to create, explore, and invent their own rules. Adults don't dictate what a child does, but only help when asked. This is how independence and creativity develop. In Germany, books and reading are considered a natural part of life, not a chore. Children grow up surrounded by books, magazines, educational games, and conversations about knowledge. In post-Soviet culture, books were often perceived as mandatory reading or a school burden. Children read because they had to, not because they found it interesting. In Germany, the approach is slightly different. Children learn to value knowledge through their parents' example. Parents read, discuss books, and share discoveries and new ideas. Children see that learning and reading are not punishment, but a way to expand their world. Schools and kindergartens also create an environment where books are accessible and very interesting. Cozy reading corners, discussions of stories and characters, joint projects, and, of course, creative assignments. Also, here in Germany, it is not customary to suppress emotions, much less criticize people for their emotions. Children are allowed to feel, express, and discuss their feelings: joy, sadness, anger, or fear. In post-Soviet culture, emotions were indeed often suppressed. Children could be scolded for tears, anger, or fear, for not crying, for not being angry, for being ashamed to show them, and so on. All sorts of horrors. This fostered a fear of expressing their feelings and an inner reticence. Adults in Germany help children recognize emotions, name them, and teach them to understand their causes. For example, are you upset that someone took your toy? I understand. Let's think about what we can do about it. In this way, children learn not only to express emotions but also to manage them. Schools and kindergartens also support this. Children discuss their feelings in groups, learn to listen to others, and express empathy. Play and creativity become tools for expressing emotions, drawing, storytelling, and various role-playing games. Also, in Germany, respect for others is built not on fear or formal rules, but on understanding and exemplary behavior from adults. Children learn that everyone deserves attention and respect, regardless of age or status. In post-Soviet culture, respect was often associated with authority, with listening to elders because they were older. Never sing with the teacher, you must follow instructions, and so on and so forth. This often became a formality. The child would respect their elders outwardly, but completely misunderstand the meaning of this respect. Well, in Germany, they explain why it's important to be polite and considerate of others, rather than simply demanding obedience. For example, say thank you because someone helped you. This shows that you appreciate the other person's efforts. Or, for example, listen when elders say, because they can share their experience, and not because you have to. Parents set an example through their behavior. If adults are polite to each other, children learn to emulate respectful behavior. And schools and kindergartens also support this through group rules, where mutual respect is important, and, of course, respecting boundaries. In Germany, children are also taught to understand the consequences of their words and actions from a very early age. This is not punishment and in no way pressure. It is the understanding that every action has meaning for oneself and for others. Unfortunately, in post-Soviet culture, the opposite was often true. Children could make mistakes, argue, or be inattentive, but responsibility was formally assigned only to parents. Words like, "you're responsible for everything," sounded stern, but the meaning, unfortunately, remained unclear. In Germany, children are truly taught the consequences. If you don't put your toys away, other children won't be able to use them. If you say something offensive, someone else will feel bad. This way, children learn to make decisions freely and be responsible for them. Schools also develop responsibility skills through projects or group assignments. Children see that if they don't do their part, it affects everyone else, which means they need to participate consciously. Mistakes are discussed calmly, and what can be done better next time is discussed. Thus, the German approach to responsibility is freedom with an understanding of consequences. And if you look back at everything children are taught in Germany, it becomes clear. The main goal here is harmony, not competition or fear. Children learn to be themselves, respect others, value their time and effort, care for their health and nature, and develop creative thinking and independence. In post-Soviet culture, upbringing was often built through stress, pressure, intimidation, and constant comparison. Children grew up with the feeling that they had to be better than others, hide their mistakes, and live up to others' expectations. This created anxiety, I believe, fear, and inner tension. In Germany, however, the approach is very gentle, consistent, and respectful. Here, children are understood and listened to. They explain, they demand, and they support independence and initiative. They teach through personal example, not through prohibitions or punishments. And the results change with age. Children become confident, calm, inquisitive, responsible, and socially mature. They know their boundaries, manage their emotions, value hard work, and are able to collaborate. And most importantly, they don't fear mistakes or failures, but rather see them as a natural step on the path to growth. And when I compare this approach with post-Soviet culture, I understand why German children seem calm and confident. Here, love and nurturing are not about control, but about support and respect. This is what creates a harmonious personality. A child here truly feels valued, loved, and free. For me, as a mother and as a psychologist, this is a revelation. I am truly learning from German families how to raise children without stress, pressure, and constant comparison. And I see how these principles help my daughter grow up happy, independent, and confident. Ultimately, German parenting teaches us the most important thing. Love and respect are stronger than fear and control. And these are what shape a healthy, harmonious personality. Thank you all for your attention. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Hello, dear friends. My name is Masha, and welcome to my channel. When I first moved to Germany, I was absolutely sure I knew how to be polite. I always said please and thank you, smiled at the salespeople, and helped people open doors. But I quickly realized that what we consider kindness is perceived completely differently here. The first time I went to a bakery, I tried to be friendly, with a smile, and asked the saleswoman how she was doing. But she looked at me as if I'd asked something too personal. She responded very coldly and immediately asked what I wanted to buy. Later, a friend explained to me that in Germany, it's not customary to ask personal questions of strangers. Conversations with salespeople should be short and to the point. The next day, I decided to show some kindness and complimented an elderly woman on the bus, telling her she had a very beautiful orb. The woman thanked me, but clearly felt a little awkward and even moved away. As it turns out, Germans don't like unexpected compliments from strangers. They find it strange and alarming. And once, I decided to hold the door for a neighbor. She thanked me, but carefully took the door herself. Later, I learned that Germans like to do everything themselves, so as not to be indebted to anyone. Over time, I realized that in Germany, respect for personal space, neatness, punctuality, and the ability not to disturb others are essential. The first thing that struck me was the sacred German silence. There are entire hours of silence when no noise is allowed at all. No vacuum cleaners, drills, or even loud conversations on the balcony. And on Sundays, there is complete acoustic discipline. Even a stilted rag is considered a disturbing the peace. And then there was the incident with garbage. In Germany, garbage is practically a religion. Paper is separated, plastic is separated, biohazards are separated, glass is sorted by color. If you make a mistake, the neighbors will definitely notice and point it out. And once, I called a friend just to chat. She answered very dryly and asked if something serious had happened to me, and was surprised that I simply wanted to see how she was doing. In Germany, people usually write in advance before calling. Calling without warning is almost an invasion. The attitude towards neighbors is also different. Smiles and friendliness exist, but personal space is, of course, sacred. In Germany, time is almost like a member of the family. It is respected, obeyed, and never made to wait. Being 5 minutes late is already a violation, and buses and trains arrive punctually. At first, this was stressful, but over time, I realized that punctuality creates a truly special feeling of reliability. You know that no one will let you down, that everything runs like clockwork. And this creates inner peace. When I first moved, I was completely sure that friendship looked the same everywhere. Smiles, hugs, calls without a reason. This seemed absolutely normal. But in Germany, the use of you is rare, distance and respect are maintained. Here, everyone uses the informal, you, formal form of address. Hugging is almost never done. Unsolicited phone calls are a violation of personal boundaries. But this friendship is quiet, measured, and very reliable. No unnecessary drama. There is respect for personal space and genuine, sincere trust. The move brought new surprises. Every day, there were lines for parking, empty bottles in the cafe, cyclists. Everything was strictly according to the rules. At first, it was irritating and even shocking, but gradually I learned to see it as order and care for myself and others. Mistakes became a source of laughter and experience. And now I can predict what is and isn't allowed, and I value life's predictability. I realize that respect for personal space isn't coldness, but caring. And silence on Sundays is an opportunity to relax. Punctuality is a sign of respect for other people's time. And don't rush to judge, learn to understand. Laugh at yourself, because mistakes are also experience. And, of course, if you're in Germany, be sure to respect other people's space. It's incredibly important here. Be patient. Adapting to the culture takes time. Now I appreciate calm, order, and honesty. Life in Germany is predictable and safe. There's always a reason to smile. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear more stories about life in Germany, then be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Thank you all so much for your attention. Have a great time, and see you soon. Bye bye.
Hello, friends. Today I want to share something very funny and a little strange with you. We'll talk about unusual, and sometimes downright silly, laws in Germany. You'll be surprised at how many interesting rules exist here, which sometimes seem logical only on paper. Let's start with the fact that Germany is very strict about order and rules. And sometimes this manifests itself in very unusual ways. For example, there's a law that prohibits mowing the lawn on Sunday. Yes, imagine if you decide to garden on your day off, your neighbors might get upset. After all, Sunday is considered a sacred time of rest here. This law creates a sense of calm and respect for rest. But for visitors, it seems very strange. Another funny thing is the rules regarding road signs and pedestrian crossings. If you cross the road not at a zebra crossing, even if the street is empty, it can be considered a violation. Germans take safety very seriously, but for those accustomed to crossing the street at random, this seems overly strict and a little ridiculous. And what about noise regulations? In Germany, there are certain quiet hours when you are prohibited from making noise either on the street or at home. For example, in the evenings, and sometimes even on entire Sundays, you are prohibited from repairing your car, drilling loudly, or doing renovations. And if you suddenly feel like hammering on a Sunday, be prepared for disapproving looks from your neighbors. Sometimes the laws here can even be strange for animals. For example, there is a rule that dogs must be walked on a leash in public places, but some parks have special areas where they can run free. Violating these rules can also result in a fine. It's amusing how carefully the behavior of not only people but also their four-legged friends is regulated. And finally, there are laws that seem simply unbelievable to foreigners. For example, you can't take out your trash on days other than the designated ones. Violating recycling regulations can result in a fine. It's clear that maintaining cleanliness is important, but for those accustomed to throwing everything away at random, this seems very unusual. That's Germany, a country of strict, sometimes strange, and sometimes even ridiculous laws. But despite all the unusualness, they help maintain order, safety, and comfort for all residents. And although some rules seem strange, there is a certain logic and amusing charm to them. In Germany, traffic rules are strictly enforced, and sometimes the fines are downright ridiculous for foreigners. For example, if you accidentally forget to buy a ticket on a bus or train, even if you plan to pay later, the fine can exceed the cost of the trip itself. Imagine, you only intended to ride a couple of stops, and you get a huge fine. This is where the strictness of the German system really shines. Another funny situation: fines for illegal parking. Here, even if you stopped for a couple of minutes, but in the wrong place, you can be fined. Moreover, sometimes the signs are so small or hidden behind trees that they are difficult to understand, especially for a tourist. But laws are laws, and they are followed without exception. There are also unusual fines for pets and nature. For example, if you walk your dog without a leash where it's prohibited, the fine can be very hefty. Or if you pick mushrooms in the forest out of season or in a prohibited area, be prepared to pay. Yes, even nature and recreation are strictly regulated here. I can't help but mention noise fines. In Germany, there are so-called quiet hours when repairs, drilling, and loud musical instrument playing are prohibited. Violating these hours can result in a fine, even if it's just Sunday afternoon. Imagine a tourist or a newcomer who accidentally turns up the volume and gets a warning. And finally, there are laws that seem completely absurd at first glance, but breaking them can still result in a fine. For example, in some regions, diving from a diving board in a pool without permission is prohibited, or leaving furniture on the sidewalk. It may sound ridiculous, but these rules help maintain order and safety. These are the unusual and sometimes ridiculous fines that await anyone living in or visiting Germany. The laws are truly strict here, and the slightest infraction reveals the full gravity of German discipline. But frankly, there's a certain logic to it. These rules make life more orderly and predictable, and sometimes even make you smile when you realize how bizarre bureaucracy can be. Some regions of Germany have strict laws regarding what and how one can prepare or sell. For example, bread and pastry sellers must adhere to precise standards for the shape and weight of their buns, and violations can result in a fine. Yes, imagine getting a ticket for a bun that's just a little smaller than the legal limit. For a tourist, this might seem ridiculous, but for Germans, it's part of their culture of quality and order. Another amusing thing concerns public behavior. In Germany, you can't throw chewing gum on the street, park a bicycle where it shouldn't be, or make noise in public places at odd hours. Violating these rules can result in a fine. Even laughter is taken seriously in some places if it disturbs others. Imagine how strange this might be for a foreigner. There are also more bizarre laws related to everyday life. For example, in some cities, it is forbidden to dry laundry on the balcony in a way that disturbs neighbors or to place a trash can in the wrong place. These seem like minor things, but violating them can actually result in a fine. Even pet behavior is strictly regulated. Some cities require dogs to wear muzzles in public places or to be walked only during certain hours. And here's one of the funniest laws. In Germany, it is forbidden to walk on the sidewalk with your eyes closed. If this creates a danger to yourself or others, it seems absurd. But in fact, the law was created for public safety and, surprisingly, is found in several cities. Ultimately, Germany is a country of strict, unusual, and sometimes funny laws that concern everything from food and cleaning to walking and noise. Sometimes these rules seem strange, but there is a logic behind them aimed at the comfort, order, and safety of all residents. And for those who come from other countries, this is an opportunity to smile and say to themselves, "Only in Germany is this possible." One day, a tourist from another country tried to cross the street in the wrong place, but the road was empty. He was sure that nothing bad would happen. But a German passerby sternly pointed to the sign and explained that violating the rules of crossing is a fine. For the tourist, this looked incredibly strange, but it seemed that the laws are observed here even when it turns out that no one is watching. Another funny story is related to noise. A foreigner decided to fix a closet at home on Sunday, thinking that this was a normal thing. But the neighbors quickly reminded him about quiet hours, and he had to admit that even minor repairs are strictly regulated here. For many visitors, such rules are a real discovery, causing both laughter and surprise at the same time. There are also funny cases related to animals. Tourists often underestimate the strict laws regarding dogs. Walking without a leash in a prohibited area or not wearing a muzzle can turn into a fine. But Germans are very strict and loving when it comes to safety and order. And such laws help maintain harmony in cities and parks. And what about food and baked goods? One tourist bought a bun that was slightly underweight, and the seller politely reminded him of the standards. This might seem funny to some, but for Germans, it's commonplace. Quality and order are paramount. Overall, Germany is a country where strict, sometimes bizarre, and very precise laws make life organized and safe. Sometimes they seem absurd, but that's precisely what makes it so charming. Here, Every day is filled with order, respect for others, and, oddly enough, humor. For foreigners, these rules become a source of surprise, laughter, and funny stories that they then retell to friends. That's Germany, a country of strict rules, silly, and funny laws that make life unusual and full of funny adventures. If you're planning to live here or just travel, be sure to pay attention to these little details. They might surprise you, make you laugh, and even inspire you. If you enjoyed this journey through Germany's strange and hilarious laws, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Here you'll find even more interesting stories, life hacks, travel tips, and funny observations about life in Germany and beyond. Like, share this video with your friends, and leave your comments. I'm very curious to know which laws surprised you the most. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, friends. Stay curious, smile often, and discover the world with me. Bye.
Hello everyone, friends. Welcome to my channel. Have you ever had that feeling when you seem to have said everything correctly in German, but the person you're talking to looks at you as if you've offered to sell their soul in installments? You're sure your grammar is perfect, your stress is correct, and even the X sounds proud and pure, like the wind in the Alps, but for some reason their reaction is silence. No smile, no laughter, nothing that you've been waiting for. Oh, you speak German so well. Just a quick nod, and the person moves on. And there you stand, feeling as if you've lost some important dictionary page that explains a secret part of the German language. The very page that seems to be kept locked away in the Bundestag vault. Well, let me tell you a secret. The secret isn't in the words. Real German communication happens in silence, in pauses, in the way a person holds their hands, where they're looking, and how quickly they nod their head. For example, you might ask a German, "How are you?" and hear a short "good." That's all. No, "How are you?" or 5 paragraphs about the weather. Just "good." But if at that moment you notice a slight nod and a faint smile, consider yourself given the full report. Thank you. I'm fine. My mood is fine, and my day is going according to plan. Now we can get back to business. This is the most secret, wordless language. Everything matters. Widened eyes can indicate doubt, a long pause can indicate respect for your words, and not a sign that they've stopped listening. Even the angle of your head can change the meaning. And what's most interesting is that all of this works even more powerfully than words. Germans are masters of body language. They smile not out of politeness, but only when they're genuinely happy. So, if someone smiles at you in Germany, it's like a gold medal at the Olympics, rare and highly prized. And it's precisely in these moments that you begin to understand that learning German is only half the story. The other half is learning to read these signals, because sometimes even silence says more than a long monologue. And we really do communicate a lot with our bodies, so to speak, with gestures, even if we speak different languages. Imagine going to a German store, politely saying, "Hello," handing your groceries to the checkout, smiling, and the cashier nods, scans your purchases, and says a short "choose." That's it. No big smile, no comment on how beautiful your apples are. Just a nod and a choose. At this point, you start to panic. I did something wrong. Maybe I accidentally called bananas cucumbers or misplaced the cart. But in reality, everything is fine. For Germans, this is a discreet exchange of gestures and minimal words, a normal way of communicating. And if you notice a small nod or slight eye contact, consider everything perfect. The difficulty is that for us, people from a culture where everything is accompanied by emotion, gestures, and lengthy explanations, such brevity seems cold. But it's not. It's simply an invisible barrier that arises from differences in communication culture. Here's another example. You're sitting on the bus, and an old woman is sitting next to you. You smile, we consider it polite, but the old woman doesn't smile back. She simply glances at you, nods slightly, and turns away out the window. What does that mean? Is she unhappy? No, it means I've noticed you. Everything's fine, but I feel more comfortable staying silent right now. Or consider this. You're explaining something to your neighbor, you're trying hard, choosing your words, and suddenly they pause for a long time, and you think, well, that's it, they're offended, they don't like the way I'm speaking. And I've failed. But in reality, they're just thinking it over. In German culture, a pause isn't awkwardness, it's respect for your words. The person doesn't interrupt, but gives you space. Speak only then respond. You know what's funny about this? Sometimes even a short gesture replaces an entire dialogue. For example, if Lenya, your neighbor, says, yes, of course, everything is fine. He simply lifts his brooch a little higher and smiles slightly. And this will mean, yes, don't worry, I understand everything. And when you start to notice these little signs, life in Germany becomes easier. You stop tormenting yourself with thoughts like, did I say that wrong? And begin to understand that silence is also part of a conversation. Let's take a trip to the clinic, for example. You go to the doctor and are ready to describe in detail your symptoms, from a headache to the fact that your cat looked at you strangely today. But the German doctor listens attentively, nods, and for some reason remains silent. And then your heart literally stops. My God, he misunderstood me. Now he's going to say, go home and just drink tea. But no, he simply pauses to think, and then comes up with a clear plan. 3 points. Like a Swiss Army knife. Without further ado, but everything is clear and understandable. And you sit there in amazement. Wow. I said less than my neighbor, but I had enough information to fill an entire encyclopedia. And now let's go to school. You meet your child's homeroom teacher, smile, ask questions, the teacher nods, answers in short sentences, and nods again. You leave and think, he probably didn't like it. As I asked, but in fact, this is standard German style. Minimum words, maximum action. Here, a volo is a whole sentence. Now imagine the situation with your neighbors. You accidentally parked your bike a little too close to someone else's door. Your neighbor looks at you very sternly, pauses, and says nothing. And then you start to panic. That's it, she hates me. Now she's going to write a complaint, and then she'll sue me and then take me to the European Parliament. And then she just smiles and says, no problem. And you see, sometimes German silence isn't a sign of anger, but simply a way to process the situation. Incidentally, transportation in Germany is a whole other story. On a bus, on a train, or at a bus stop. You'll rarely hear animated conversations. Silence reigns. And if you start loudly discussing how your cat ate half your dinner, people look at you as if you've accidentally started karaoke in the library. But if you suddenly ask for directions, they'll help, explain, and give you simple, no-nonsense directions. That's the beauty of it. Germans don't waste time on idle chatter. So the main barrier in Germany isn't the language. It's our desire to fill in the blanks where everything is actually very simple. You've probably already heard the stereotype that Germans are cold and just as silent. Let's be honest. How could a cold iceberg bake 100 types of bread and so carefully sort trash into 7 bins? The truth is, Germans aren't cold, they're just frugal. Not just with money, but with words too. If they can say 3 sentences, they'll say one. If they can say one, they'll simply answer yes or no. And if they can say nothing at all, they'll nod. Frugality. Imagine you meet a neighbor and happily tell them you bought a new kettle. The cat is happy, and the kid got an A in response. The neighbor says, "How wonderful," and that's it. No mention of the brand of the kettle or what does the cat eat. But if you look closely, you'll notice a small smile and an approving glance. That's their warmth. Only it's expressed not in words, but quietly and modestly. Incidentally, German seriousness often masks subtle humor. They can say, in a perfectly natural voice, something like, "Yes, it was a very fun party." And only by their raised eyebrow will you realize it was a joke. For us, people accustomed to laughter, to emotion, it's a real mystery. But how is it possible? No emoticons, no laughter. But for them, it's normal humor, minimalism in its purest form. And the German smile is a rare bird. It doesn't just appear on your day out of politeness. But if it does appear, rest assured, it's genuine. Germans smile when they're genuinely happy, not just because it's the norm. And that smile can warm you more than 100 stock phrases. So the myth of coldness can safely be consigned to the Museum of Stereotypes. Germans aren't cold, they just communicate differently, more quietly, more briefly, and more precisely. And if you learn to catch their little signals, a nod, a pause, a glance, you'll definitely feel all the warmth that's there. Now that we've established that Germans aren't robots or cold icebergs, but simply masters of short signals, the question arises, what should we mere mortals do about it? First, learn to notice the little things. A German nods slightly, which means they agree and you don't need to repeat your monologue 3 more times. The other person pauses. Don't be alarmed. Don't try to fill the silence with a joke about your mother-in-law. Just give them time to think. Second, practice patience with pauses. In Germany, silence isn't an enemy, but a part of the conversation. Sometimes silence holds more meaning than a long speech. Imagine a pause as a free minute of meditation, just from your interlocutor. Third, smile, but don't overdo it. In Germany, it's not customary to smile at everyone. And if you beam like a toothpaste ad, you might be mistaken for being unusually cheerful. But a calm, sincere smile at the right moment is golden. Fourth, don't be afraid of short answers. If you're simply told good or excellent, don't look for any hidden meanings. This isn't ignoring someone, but genuine brevity. Sometimes, good means more to a German than, oh, that's just wonderful. And finally, use this skill as a superpower. When you understand nonverbal language, you begin to read people like an open book. This makes life easier at work, in the store, at meetings with neighbors, and even at family celebrations where someone sighs silently and you already know it's time to leave the kettle on. As a result, you stop feeling like a tourist in a strange company and become a participant, a person who understands that language isn't just words, but also silence, gestures, and, of course, pauses. So, friends, German isn't just words, articles, and long compound nouns that stretch like sausages at a fair. This is also the language of nods, pauses, and glances. Once you master it, you'll stop panicking when your interlocutor suddenly falls silent or says just one word. You'll know everything is going well. German silence is not emptiness. A response is just as genuine as words, sometimes even more honest. And you know what's best? When you begin to understand this secret language, you feel less like a foreigner and more like a true participant in German life. You're no longer a guest with an accent, but a person who knows how to read their signals and respond to them with one of their own, even if it's just a slight smile or a confident nod. So forget the stereotypes about cold Germans. In fact, they simply use a different way of communicating, precise, honest, and economical. And if you master it, Germany will become a place where communication brings joy, not stress. Now, pay attention. If a German suddenly smiles at you first, don't be alarmed. This isn't a bug in the system, it's a real bonus. Cherish these little things, because they're worth more than any words. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel and leave a comment telling me what you think. Until next time. Bye bye.
We're gonna look back, 'cause damn, I'm built to last. You move forward, we move fast. That's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step
I can make
today.
myself
I will
take.
never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
Hello, friends. Did you know that Germany has a whole bunch of different superstitions? That's what we'll talk about today. Why do you think it's not customary to whistle at home in Germany? Or why birthday greetings are only given on the day of the occasion and never before? These seemingly small details actually conceal a whole world of cultural subtleties that often go unnoticed. German superstitions aren't just funny quirks, but rather unique unspoken rules that shape everyday life. Imagine you've just arrived in Germany and want to be polite and considerate. You wish a colleague a happy birthday in advance, thinking you'll make them happy. But no. Instead of a smile, they'll likely look mildly confused. It's all very simple for Germans. Congratulating someone in advance is tantamount to bringing bad luck. In their minds, it's like scaring away their good luck. Even the friendliest of relationships can be offended by such a small detail. The same applies to everyday greetings. When entering a room, it's crucial to greet everyone present, even if you're not seeing each other for the first time that day. Whistling indoors is strictly prohibited. It's believed that whistling summons evil spirits or, in more mundane terms, draws money out of the house. Germans also place great emphasis on the symbolism of gifts. It might seem simpler than choosing a bouquet of flowers, but there are subtleties here too. White lilies or chrysa on the mums are associated with funerals, so they're never given on special occasions. However, small talismans, such as pig figurines, horseshoes, or four-leaf clovers, are considered true symbols of good luck and are always appropriate. It's in these details that the distinctive character of German culture is revealed. It's built on respect for tradition and the belief that words and actions can influence destiny. For a newcomer, all this may seem very strange, but over time, you begin to understand that everyone has their own do's and don'ts. There's a hidden desire to protect yourself and your loved ones from invisible dangers. So if you want to experience Germany not only through its architecture and language, but also through its everyday magic, be sure to pay attention to these hidden superstitions. They'll tell you much more about the country than you might think. At first glance, one of the most surprising moments in Germany is a birthday. We're used to congratulating someone in advance, wishing them happiness and good luck for the coming year. But here, this is considered very bad luck. Germans believe that congratulating someone early will bring bad luck. And no matter how close you are, it's better to wait until the day itself. That's why in Germany you won't hear "Happy Birthday" or see a room decorated in advance. The celebration begins promptly at midnight. And that's when you can confidently wish them all the best. It's also interesting how Germans celebrate their birthdays. Children and adults alike love to surround themselves with symbols of good luck. Little marzipan pigs, ladybug figurines, horseshoes, and, of course, shamrocks. These are all classic symbols of good luck. They're not believed in as magic, but rather as a small reminder of good times. And here, it's a sign of thoughtfulness. Gifts also have their own unspoken rules. For example, knives and scissors are best avoided. It's believed they'll ruin friendships or relationships. The same goes for empty wallets. Be sure to put at least a coin inside to avoid giving an empty wallet along with it. A bottle of wine, sweets, or flowers are always an appropriate token of affection. Just be mindful of the number of flowers. A bouquet should have an odd number of flowers, and those funereal tones should be avoided. These small details make the atmosphere of a German holiday truly special. A birthday isn't just a date, but a ritual where it's important to maintain the delicate balance between respect and tradition. For those coming from another country, all this may seem strange at first, but over time you begin to notice that these rules make relationships more harmonious and life a little more predictable and secure. And in everyday life, Germans also have their fair share of little taboos and quirks that are best known in advance. Also, empty bottles should never be left on the table. For Germans, it's a symbol of poverty and lack. It's also considered downright impolite and downright rude. If the bottle is empty, it's removed immediately, as if throwing away bad energy along with it. And now about toasts. In Germany, you can't simply raise your glass and say, "Well, here's to your health." There's one very important rule. You must look the person in the eye. Failure to meet their gaze is said to result in 7 years of unrequited love. This often becomes a fun challenge for guests, as they must simultaneously avoid spilling the drink, remember to offer a toast, and honestly look the person in the eye. An interesting point concerns good luck wishes. In Russian, we often say, "Good luck to you," but in Germany, these words are replaced by a gesture. If a German has an important exam or interview coming up, you won't hear the usual greeting.